Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's August the 29th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And the countdown has begun. The Miami Hurricanes will open their regular season on Saturday. Just a little scrimmage against Bethune-Cookman. Certainly a little bit different than the last time we did this against Alabama and Atlanta. A lot different, Matt Shodell. But, maybe there's some things that can come out of this game on Saturday. The best thing that could come out of it is nobody getting hurt, obviously. But, you got a new offense, a new defense. I guess it kind of helps to go against somebody different.
But it's my turn?
That is a question, yes.
Wow. Usually you preface it a lot better than that.
Wake up. This is Good Morning CaneSport. Wake up.
First half of the game, I will watch. The second half, I'm going to be playing on my computer. Only Murderers in the Building. I have one episode left, so I will be watching that. Before I forget, I want to give a shout out. Terry Cofield, the Coconut Grove Cowboys. I ran into him the other day. It's all these high school coaches get all the glory. They're the ones who send the kids to college. They're the ones who prepare them. But really, the ones who prepare them are the ones who have them from a very, very young age, right? And so I just happen to see Terry, and I don't know if he's a big fan of the show or not. My first response when anybody comes up to me and identifies themselves as a Miami Hurricanes fan, I say, listen. The first thing I say is I'm not Matt Shodell. I just look like him. That's the first thing. Then when they seem normal, I say, I'm not that negative in real life. All right. I assume they want to accost me for being too negative. But in this case, very nice gentleman who's 1 year older than me, but looks much younger than me. Kudos to him. So he runs the Coconut Grove Cowboys program now, and that's this little league team who plays up the street from my house. And they had Frank Gore, Denzel Perryman. These are the unsung heroes, guys like this who grew up in Coconut Grove, unlike me, who just happen to move here and enjoy it now, and who helps they are kids. I can say kids because they are young kids. And so, we were talking, and he says that he can identify players at a very young age that he thinks are going to be really amazing. And I don't want to mention anyone by name other than to say there's a young man named Xavier who is 12 years old and 6'1". I don't want to say his last name because I don't want to get him a big head. And you know how it is when there's 12-year-olds hear themselves on an amazing morning podcast that's nationally known, and all of a sudden they think they're the greatest thing ever. They got to keep working. But he's one of the standouts that was mentioned by Terry. So, I just want to give a shout out because we talk about high school coaches on this show, but we never talk about the guys who really instill that work ethic that every student athlete eventually needs. And you don't just get that in high school. You get that from a young age. And guys like this who are invested in young men, telling them, hey, if you work hard, if you listen to what your coaches say, if you do, listen to your parents, whatever it is, guide them on the path. That's really what gets them to the high school level first. So whenever any of you out there see a little league coach, a peewee coach, just an assistant, just volunteering his time even, thank them because they really, for the most part, are doing this out of the goodness of their heart and trying to help the community and not getting any glory. He wasn't coming up to me saying I'm, asking to be mentioned on this show. If he's watching, he's probably shocked that I'm even mentioning it. But, I just felt strongly that people like this need to be recognized. So anyway, as for the game itself, we're going to learn a lot about how bad Bethune-Cookman is. I don't think we're going to learn a lot about the Miami Hurricanes, other than to see personnel groupings. I'm not even sure they're going to reveal, other than we'll see which defensive tackles they like to work together and defensive ends they like to work together in tandems and what the third down package personnel is. I don't think they're going to do a lot with James Williams that they'll be doing with him against Texas A&M. I expect they'll move him all over the place. I expect, Even Cam Kinchins, I think, will be lined up as a cornerback against Texas A&M. You know, I'm not revealing secrets. It's just what I think will happen, just watching how he moves in practice, and the fact that they have so many really good safeties, and the fact that they need to confuse an offense like Texas A&M if they're going to have any chance. If you just play your base defense and just blitz once in a while, you're going to get killed by a team like Texas A&M. So I expect there's going to be a lot of innovation in that game. I expect we will not see any of it in these first two games. But fans will show up. They'll cheer. There'll be a lot of long touchdowns. Everyone's going to be talking how amazing. Listen, replay this 2 weeks from Monday when all the fans are saying how amazing Miami is, that they've won their first two games by combined 122-7, and how, this is the best they've played. They're not having any penalty problems anymore, and how the receivers are elite. What's Gary Ferman talking about? Nothing's ever as good as it seems. Everything's always as bad as it seems, right? No, nothing's ever as good or as bad as it seems. And in this case, these first two games, everything's going to seem like it's great. I'm telling you right now, but it won't be. There's still going to be warts that are there left over from the prior era and the prior players and some of the personnel holes. And it doesn't get fixed overnight, guys. Like, I'm sorry, negative Matt's here to stay. That's just the truth, man. Like, it's going to look great for these first two games. It's not going to look so great against Texas A&M. And people are going to be like, what happened? These first two games are like, it's playing the scout team. That's what this is, these first two games. You can't do much.
All right, well, we're going to be throwing a lot of content at you guys here this week, getting ready for the season and bringing you up to speed on everything. And one of the stories that we have on the website today addresses Leonard Taylor, a guy that, to me, like I see some different wild cards in this season. And, we'll be talking about some of them as the week goes on. And one of them is Leonard Taylor. Now, this is his second year in the program, and he came in with like very lofty expectations. And quite frankly, I think last year kind of developed a little slowly for him. He played a little bit, but he certainly wouldn't be called an impact player based on what we saw last year. So now here we go, Matt, into year two, and it's time for the real Leonard Taylor that everybody knows is there, the beast that is within, to step up, so to speak. And we start to take a little bit of a look at that today, and whether Leonard Taylor can bust out this year. Your thoughts?
My thought is, what made you think I was done talking about the previous subject? Because I was not. So the other issue here is the scheduling. I hate that you play Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss to get ready for Texas A&M. Yeah, Texas A&M, they're not really doing that much more to prepare for Miami, but at least they play App State in game two. At least App State has some relevance in terms of, they can do a little bit. They almost beat Miami last year, right? So I hate going from this level to this level with a team that has an all-new coaching staff and a lot of new transfers. Like, I hate that. If they can hang tough with Texas A&M, like, the sky's the limit. Do not expect it. Those of you watching out there, don't expect it. Like, just be happy if it happens. Just be happy. The first 2 weeks don't even matter.
I'm asking you about Leonard Taylor now, not asking you about Texas A&M in 3 weeks. We have plenty of time to talk about Texas A&M.
Fine. Leonard Taylor's pretty good. Listen, he has all the skills in the world, but there was a quote, and I think I put it in the story, right? There was a quote from Jacob Lichtenstein. Did you notice that quote, Gary, in that story?
Refresh my memory.
Do you have this? Well, I have to look at it now. Do you have the story up on your screen? I can bring it up on my screen.
Not right now. No, I read it, I think, yesterday.
All right, so let me take a look real quick. But yeah, there's a quote from Mr. Lichtenstein that basically said really nice things about Leonard, but also mixed, interwoven. And listen, Jacob Lichtenstein is just one of these tell it like it is players who probably will never talk to us again because of that. But this is part of his quotes. He said, Jacob talking about Leonard. He has a lot to learn. That's part of it. And that once it all clicks for him. Okay. Now that's taken out of context. The whole quote was he's explosive, a young buck, has a lot to learn, but physically he's there. Once it all clicks for him, I don't even know what to say. He has that much potential. It's scary. So he's trying to compliment him, but what you see is the truth. And the truth is Leonard Taylor has no idea what the hell's going on around him again. Okay. And last year he told us in his blog he was looking at the guy next to him to see what play they were running. So it troubles me when a teammate basically is reiterating what my worst fear would be for Leonard, which is that he still is a little slow to pick this thing up. And that's exactly what Jacob said is happening. Couched in wonderful, flowery language about how great he's going to be once he actually knows what play to run. I mean, that's troubling to me, Gary. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if he starts the year in that mode, it's absolutely troubling. I agree, and it's going to make it very hard for him to fulfill his potential as a Miami Hurricane. But I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to hope that will not be the case. Well, I am. I mean, I like Leonard.
I love Leonard to death. That's got nothing to do with it.
We tried to give him an NIL deal a year ago. We tried.
This show is not about us liking or disliking players. I like every single player on the roster except for one, Gary Ferman. He's not even listed on the roster. Every other player I like tremendously. I don't know what this has to do with liking or disliking. We're just here to say what we think of them as football players, not as people. Am I not?
I'm just saying. I really hope he knows the defense by the time the season starts. He's got one more starting. And I know, and it would be a shame if he starts out this year like he did last year, not really knowing what he's doing, because they won't wait. They're not going to wait very much with this many guys that they can rotate. I don't think so. But Leonard's a guy they need to be. I mean, he's a guy that should be a superstar. I mean, he should be a top tier ACC defensive tackle. So we'll see how that develops, but he
should be the guy that I say you don't take off the field. I know that Kevin Steele wants to take all the best players off the field for half the game. I get it. Kevin Steele's a genius. Matt Shodell, the moron, wants the best, most athletic players to play every snap that they can play, even if they're 90%. If Leonard Taylor understands the defense and his 90% is better than the 100% that Jacob Lichtenstein can provide, I'm putting a tired Leonard Taylor on the field, man. Like, I know Kevin Steele's a genius and he's coached for 50 years. I mean, I'm just a stupid reporter, but
here's the problem.
Stupid reporters are correct.
Here's the problem, one of those times. Your linebackers are an acknowledged weakness. So you can't have the guys in front of the linebackers busting and leaving gaps open and things like that. The defense will struggle mightily if that's the case. So he's got to know what he's doing. He should by now. So it's that simple. All right. So we got a lot of stuff on the website. I'm gonna go through it relatively quickly. We'll try to keep the show to about a half hour. I know that's the general length of your guys' commute to work, so we won't go into deep detail on everything. But another story that I thought was really interesting was with defensive backs coach Jamil Adai, who talks about how happy he is with his new group of guys in the Miami secondary, and thinks that they are going to be a big part of what he termed an aggressive Kevin Steele defense, Matt. And that's music to my ears. The Canes are still going to be aggressive on defense like they were under thou who shall not be named, who's now at some distant place called State College. But it's still going to be aggressive, but more sound. And I like that combination. They're not going to gamble as much. They're going to be aggressive, but they won't be gambling all the time.
Yeah, I listen. They really need. I've had a problem with this for years, Gary, and so have you. It seems like sometimes our coaches, not these coaches, but past coaches, and I'm hoping this won't be the case. We're going to start finding out this year. They've been fooled by their own personnel to the point where they think this cornerback is good enough to cover a speedy receiver on the outside by himself, and we can blitz everyone else and leave him on an island. They've been they've committed hubris to the highest degree on the offensive line, thinking that the line was so good that you don't need a running back or a tight end to help out against a great Alabama defensive end. We'll just leave DJ Scaife on him. It'll be fine. They have had hubris to the point that they felt the running game could get 3rd and 1 conversions, 3rd and 2 conversions, and 4th and 1 conversions, just running up the middle every single time without trying to do anything different. The reason for the hubris, and for those of you like Gary that don't know what hubris means, you can go ahead and Google Greek mythology.
You read my mind. I was telling you better define the word. I was just getting ready to say that. If you're going to use words like that, you better tell everybody what you're talking about.
I'm not going to look it up, but hubris basically is when a man thinks that he knows more than a god. You basically think that you know everything, okay? So it's a Greek mythological term from what I remember of my limited Greek mythology. But anyway.
Don't worry, everybody. We will make it through this show. Somehow, some way, we will make it through.
The concern and the reason why there was this hubris where they thought that they could do everything and have no problem is because they watched their own spring practice and they watched their own fall practice without realizing that pretty much every unit, except for a couple, were subpar. So if you have a subpar offensive line going up against a subpar D line,
is that still the case? I don't think so.
Excuse me?
I don't think it's still the case.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand what you're saying. I said what we were talking about in the past. I said I hope this.
And I agree with you, but I don't think that's still the case. I think
but Gary, I literally prefaced this with saying I hope this will not be the case anymore.
Okay, all right.
Because there are some weaknesses on this roster at linebacker. I think still at offensive line. Okay, I think there might be some issues with power running game. Okay, I have a feeling that Mario Cristobal and Josh Gaddis are going to be very hard-headed and feel like they have to have a power running game no matter what. And if they can't establish it, they would rather lose. That if you can't just put your head down and shove that guy 1 yard into the backfield and get that yard, you don't deserve to win anyway. There are people that feel like that, and I feel Mario Cristobal is one of them. And, this may not be the team that's built to do that. This might be the team that has to be built on a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 misdirection end around by a wide receiver, Brashard Smith. I don't know, but they may have to be inventive. And I have a feeling that that is not how Mario Cristobal and Josh Gaddis are built. So I feel there might be some hubris where they feel that we watched, they're good enough. They struggled against a great front seven in fall practice, but that's a great front seven that we have because that's all they're telling us. So, against another defensive line, they'll be fine. They'll be able to get that yard we need, that 2 yards we need. That's my concern, Gary, because we've seen it happen for 10 years now, where we know, you and I know from the outside even, that, look, this position is not real good because we saw him play last year. It's the same guys coming back again, like the offensive line this year. But these guys seem to think they've made a huge jump up in 9 months. And then guess what? It's the same freaking thing every year. That's my concern. That's all I'm saying. So
I don't think it's the same thing. I think defense line is much better, but I do understand what you're saying. And this has certainly been a problem many times in the recent past. And last year was an example. I mean, how many times did we watch Rhett Lashley on 3rd and 1 think that his power running game was going to get the first down, and it did not. And they're not going to find out in weeks 1 and 2 what their power running game really looks like. It's going to take going to Texas A&M on September 17th to see what they really have and what this team really is. And, I don't really have a whole lot of opinions on Josh Gaddis because we haven't seen him coach one game here yet. I don't know that he's as hard-headed as maybe you're representing him, Matt, but maybe he is. And we'll find out. But
hey, let me tell you, I spent the weekend with some Michigan fans, not by choice, but because they're my friends from the past, from a long time in the past. Actually, one friend I was with let me drive his brand new $200,000 Porsche. That's a stick shift, and I haven't driven a stick shift in 40 years. I'm pretty sure I destroyed a $200,000 car this weekend, so I may need some a loan, Gary, a CaneSport loan. Again, I'll let you know. But anyway, so this it was just one Michigan fan who's been a fan for a long time. We had dinner with him and his wife in the Gables. I don't like leaving the Grove, but went to the Gables just for them. And he says Josh Gaddis was not liked as an offensive coordinator at Michigan, which was against what I had thought. I had thought they thought he was wonderful over there. I know there was not a great end of terms with him, but this is like this guy went to Michigan, booster, diehard Michigan fan, in a frat there when he was there, like still goes to every big game up there, his 2 children go there, okay? And like he says, Josh Gaddis is not, they didn't like him as a coordinator. He was not a good coordinator. That's what he told me. And, I don't know. All I know is that the stats say that he had a 50-50 run pass, really good running offense, used the tight ends as blockers, mainly as blockers, one of them also as a decent receiver. So I don't know. Like you said, like he hasn't had that long of a history as a coordinator, right? Because he's done sort of a couple of different offenses at Michigan because he was forced to. At Alabama, he was co-coordinator, but he wasn't really like the coordinator. So, I'm very curious to see, even starting in the first games, how run heavy they are in the early series. Because I think it will tell us something about it, what he believes in. Just how they come out running the ball is my guess.
All right, another story we have on the website takes a look at Jake Garcia, and for some crazy reason, Matt, every time that I suggest positive things about Jake Garcia, there's a fraction on our message boards that gets all rattled by that, and I don't quite understand. They start saying I have a love affair with Jake Garcia and all this stuff. I ain't love affair with Jake Garcia. Just tell it like it is. A year ago, he and Tyler Van Dyke were neck and neck in practice, to the point where when they were ready to put him in a game after De'Ara King got hurt, Jake Garcia and Tyler Van Dyke split snaps about evenly against, I think it was Central Connecticut State was the name of the team. And it was only when Jake Garcia was hurt that Tyler Van Dyke got the show to himself, took the ball, ran, improved. The biggest reason being he gained confidence in himself, which took his game, which at a physical level is phenomenal, to a whole nother stratosphere. And now Jake Garcia's QB2. There's no argument. Nobody thinks that there's a real competition. Nobody expects Jake Garcia to overtake Tyler Van Dyke this year, as long as Tyler Van Dyke is healthy. What we are constantly talking about here at CaneSport, and as we do in this story this morning, Matt, is the prospects for Jake Garcia when he does have the opportunity to be QB1, which would be in the spring, and when he competes against Ja'Cory Brown, Jaden Rashada, and maybe Emory Williams if he sticks, and I guess Peyton Matosha will still be around. With that in mind, I think Jake Garcia is right on schedule, Matt. I think this is a good year for him to develop behind Tyler, learn, observe, get some playing time when there's opportunity, and then come into spring practice ready to rock.
Jake Garcia has looked great this fall. People don't talk about him because I don't understand why they won't give him first team reps in this. They didn't give him first team reps in the scrimmages. I don't understand that. Jake Garcia is one play away from needing to be your first team quarterback. This is something that, listen, I'm not going to criticize Mario Cristobal because, God forbid I criticize a coach who's just taken over the job and everything is, gravy. Do people like gravy? Why do they say gravy when things are so good? Gravy's disgusting. Pie and applesauce. Okay, I'm going with pie and applesauce. Everything's pie and applesauce right now. But I'm telling you guys right now, and God forbid it happens, if Tyler Van Dyke goes down, Jake Garcia will be prepared mentally. He will know everything that he needs to do against that defense because he studies film incessantly, but he will not have worked on his timing, with the first team.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
And they have rotated around. They have rotated around offensive linemen and wide receivers, but it's still not the same first team offense all the time.
But as much as they rotate, don't you think that he has worked with all those guys at some point in the fall?
I literally just said that, but no, because in the scrimmages, they went ones versus ones, twos versus twos, and we all know what that means. Now, yeah, is the defense rotating around like crazy? Yeah, but how's that going to help him? Is the offense rotating around that much? Not so much. Yeah, he'll get some work with the one.
You're saying he hasn't thrown enough balls to Xavier Restrepo, for example.
Yeah, but because in the scrimmages, Xavier Restrepo was with the ones. I mean, what do you want from me, Gary? Like that's what it was one versus one.
That's a reasonable.
Not overworking the first teamers and putting them with the second team also.
I mean,
do they put the second team at times? Yeah.
We don't have a personnel breakdown in every play in the scrimmages, but I mean that's certainly a possibility that played out that way. And I get what you're trying to say. I mean,
anyway, here's what's going to happen.
We'll give it some legitimacy. All of us out here that are out in this world, very far removed from the world that you live in, but it's okay. Like we got it.
All right. Well, fans are going to hate me, but here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to tell you what I believe. What I believe happens. I believe Tyler Van Dyke goes pro after this year. I believe Jake Garcia starts for 1 to 2 years. I believe Ja'Cory never sees the field, and I believe the next starting quarterback after Jake leaves will be Jaden Rashada, assuming Jaden Rashada
somebody yet to be recruited.
Assuming Jaden Rashada doesn't get pulled away by an NIL deal before signing day. That's what I believe. I'm not going to lie and tell you that's not what I believe. If you ask me as a fan what I believe will happen, and again, I'm a reporter, I'm not a coach. That's what I right now believe will happen, and you can come back in 3 years and replay the August 29th, 2022 episode, and you can say Matt Shodell was right again. I mean, what am I going to tell you? That's what I believe.
I agree with you, but I also understand the next 2 years is a long time, and a lot's going to happen in the next 2 years. There's going to be more quarterbacks recruited. Some guys are going to leave. This will not be a static situation. This will be a constantly evolving situation.
We're here to give people answers, Gary, not to do this little pie in the sky. I don't know what might happen. It's
no.
Put your foot down, Gary. What do you think happens? Do you think Jakari ever plays here? Yes or no? It's pretty simple.
No, I'm with you on everything you just said. No argument. All right, we have a few more to talk about. Certainly more on the site today, but first let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hey sis, want to play one-on-one? What about 3-on-3? Let's do it. You're not Haley. Wait a minute.
Life Wallet user not detected.
I knew it.
Secure your health information and privacy with Life Wallet. Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
Whatever many takes they had to do for Haley to really make that jump shot. That was a pretty looking shot. All right. So we talked about Jake Garcia. We also have a story with Charlie Strong talking about the linebackers and the importance of tackling and how he feels that they're making progress in camp. And Matt, linebacker's such a key spot because it's been a perceived weakness. But from what we've been hearing, the linebacker play has been better than expected this fall because the play up front on the defensive line has been improved by the roster fortifications that came in the transfer portal.
Well, only one came, but I'm a big fan of Caleb Johnson. I saw him run down Don Chaney when he was healthy. I mean, like run him down. I mean, Caleb Johnson.
About the fortifications on the defensive line, just to be clear.
You said linebacker, I thought. Okay.
No, wait. Don't get confused. We're talking about the linebackers, but what I was saying was
the D-line's going to help them.
They are playing better in fall camp because the defensive line is considerably better in front of them.
Of course,
They are less exposed.
Yeah, of course. But so anyway, I'm a big fan of Caleb Johnson. I entered fall camp. Listen, again, as a person, Gil Frierson is like, I love him to death, He's a Coconut Groveite like myself, so how can I not love him? But watching him try to cover guys as the star is just, it gives me flashbacks to like the last 20 years of failure. Like I'm hoping coaches don't do that a lot. So I don't know what's happening with star. I like it when they put, heck, even Jaden Harris at star. I like a cornerback who's physical. Like put a physical cornerback at star. Don't put a converted like safety linebacker at star who's not real good at covering. Like that's not for me, man. So I'm hoping Gil will be used mainly as a star, almost when it's a strong side linebacker situation, And then I'm hoping they'll use the more agile, smaller guys as a star in those passing blitzing situations. We'll find out, I guess, with these personnel packages, maybe starting on Saturday. But I do not want to see Gil Frierson lined up one-on-one against a slot guy ever for the rest of my life. And then the other spot, it's okay. Keontre's okay. He looks a lot better than last year, but I still don't know if he's a star. I don't think he is, but maybe there's a chance with him. We know Wayne Mansteed's not a star, but we maybe he can be a little more reliable with his new coaching staff. He's certainly a veteran, and he's at the front of every line that they ever do drills in, so they obviously trust him a lot. And that's the other issue I have. I hope that, unlike the past, they're not putting the guys that aren't as athletic and just talented as just pure freak athletes. I hope they're not against like a Leonard Taylor. Like, don't not play the guy because he, like you said, Gary, he busts once in a while. Like, that's going to happen, man. But to put a guy in there who's just not as good, just because he knows what to do, I don't know why, but like I don't feel that. Because I already know if Miami's going to win a national championship, they're not winning with Wayne Mansteed. Like if they're going to surprise anybody this year, they've got to use the guys that to me aren't as reliable in terms of it's going to be younger guys who are more athletic and just better overall athletes, however you want to put the term, than the older guys. And yeah, maybe they don't get it. Maybe they go 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. But you know what? In the old days, players used to say to us as reporters all the time, like, yeah, he goes 100 miles per hour in the wrong direction, once in a while. But when he goes in the right direction, it's a touchdown. Like, So, that's just, again, fans might have an issue with that. That's just how I feel. And when they roll out Wayman Sneed as the starter, which I have a weird feeling that's going to happen against Texas A&M. Wayman Sneed will be the starter. Like, that's just not for me, man. I'd rather see even a Chase Smith get a chance. Like, just somebody else who we know what Wayman Sneed doesn't do. Let's see what somebody else maybe can do.
Well, Charlie Strong has said that he's been doing better this fall. So you got new coaches, new system. Maybe I think you got to give him a chance. I think you got to give Gil Frierson a chance. We have a story on him today on the website. And another interesting story we have on the website is Al Blades has been seeing a large portion of his time this fall at safety, which is a little bit surprising considering the depth at safety.
Well, they're calling him a safety, but I have a feeling you're going to see him at star, you're going to see him at corner. They seem to think they may have found something with him where he can be a jack of all trades type of guy. And actually, you know what? That's a term that Jamil Adai used for him, is jack of all trades. And I wouldn't, who do we pick as our surprise defensive player, Gary? I can't remember. It was like a couple of months ago. We did a story on a surprise.
Cam Kinchins, maybe?
Maybe that. No, but he wasn't a surprise. I know on offense it was Elijah Arroyo. Anyway, if I was picking a surprise defensive player right now, like somebody, in other words, somebody who we don't really know might be good or didn't expect to really have much of a role, I would pick Al Blades. I really would. I mean, when you see the effort that guy gives, just remember him on special teams. He's finally back. He's always been like really good enough. When he's been healthy, he's been good enough. And I think this coaching staff realizes that, hey, we got 2 really good cornerbacks. Hey, we got 3 really good safeties. And we also have Al Blades. Like, let's find a way to get him in the game. And I think he's a guy who can move around almost like a rover and just be at all different sort of situations. And he's smart enough, fast enough, and good enough to be that guy who confuses the opposing quarterback. But like, he understands when he sees a play, like he's one of these guys who just instinctively understands, and he works hard as hell studying film, but he also instinctively, he sees something like Ed Reed used to, and he knows where the ball's going based on the formation, based on a player, even a pre-snap adjustment. He knows. So he's a guy you want to have in there, because once that play starts happening, he can have that freedom, depending on how they use him, which I think Kevin Steele's smart enough to do this, where he can get into that area where he thinks the ball is going to go and make a play. And it could be a game-changing play against a team like a Texas A&M that, who knows, maybe something crazy happens. So, well, big fan of Al Blades.
Make no mistake, a lot is going to look different. I mean, this is a whole new defense, a whole new coaching staff, a whole new scheme. Like, a lot is going to look different from what we've seen the past few seasons. And it's going to take us all, you guys out there watching, it's going to take everybody a little bit of time to get used to it and the different ways that the personnel are being used, which is not going to look familiar to us in a lot of cases. So it's very exciting on one hand, but it's also a little bit hairy when you want to talk about it, because there's going to be just so much that's going to be new that it just has to all be taken in and absorbed, and we'll all start getting a better feel for it here and be able to have a lot more constructive conversation on it here on this show, on CaneSport Live on Tuesday nights, the Lamar Thomas Show on Wednesday nights. There's my plug for our live programming that's going to start up this week. And we'll just all be better equipped in a few weeks to talk about exactly what's going on schematically in the games. All right. I know you guys got to get to work. We got a few other stories on the website today. You'll hear from Frank Pons talking about the quarterbacks, Jafari Harvey talking about the defense. And we also have a few recruiting stories today. We have an article with high priority lineman Jordan Hall, who says that Miami is recruiting him the hardest.
Linebacker, yeah.
and that is that's going a long way to the Canes being in it for him. And then we've also got to look at a wide receiver at Miami Edison who's emerging by the name of Brandon Lowe. And that's a name to know here as this high school football season gets going. Luther Campbell thinks that he is going to fall right in line behind Ray in terms of great prospects to come at Edison. So we're keeping a close eye on him to see if that ends up being the case. All right, we know you guys got to get to work, so we thank you so much for joining us this morning on Good Morning CaneSport. We'll have a lot to talk about all week as we keep previewing the season opener. Remember, hit your like button, hit your subscribe button, subscribe to our website, CaneSport.com. If you haven't done so, this is the week to get it all going. Download our app from the App Store. We will be bringing you all the coverage that you need to allow you to enhance the experience of your passion of Miami Hurricanes football all season long. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you once again for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.